Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to compare Dubai with Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, as what are the best places to live and to travel. Where would you rather go? Now, at this point in time, clearly, or maybe not so clearly, but it is a fact that Malaysia is pretty closed, so it's difficult to go and live there. This being said, huge Malaysia fan. I think it's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to it being open. At the same time, during this time period, Dubai has become increasingly popular. I've done a bunch of videos talking about it and their different programs, etc. So we're going to mash them up today. They are similar, but also very, very different. And so we're going to dive in right now. Before we do, if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button, nail the notification bell, hit the all notifications. If you're interested at all in support with moving internationally, figuring out what's the best structure for you, figuring out how to move your business abroad, paying lower taxes, getting residencies, citizenships, payment processing, bank accounts, company formation, etc., please reach out to me. You can book a call, comedy.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below, or check out our websites, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com, and send us a message through there. Okay, let's start with weather, all right? Some people will tell me that they think Kuala Lumpur has the perfect ideal weather. Certainly from a temperature standpoint, it's basically 24 to 32 all year round, every month, period. It just never changes. Okay, so it's some of the most consistent and honestly, in my view, typically not too hot and definitely not too cold. So that's amazing, right? That's a fantastic thing about Malaysia. By contrast, let's look at Dubai. Dubai is unbearably hot in the summer, right? It's, probably 40, 45 degrees there today. And, it gets up to, 55 degrees in the peak. It gets so hot and humid in the middle of Dubai, or in the middle of the summer in August in Dubai, that they actually close Nikkie Beach. Okay, that's how hot it is. So certainly in that sense, not good for a period of time. Also, it gets a little bit chilly in the winter, at least for me. So, will I go and just go swimming in an outdoor pool? Not so much. I want to put on a sweater or blazer or something to be outside, especially at night during the winter. It's not that hot. So the weather, on one hand, you might say is better in Malaysia. This being said, Malaysia is very humid, which some people don't like, and it gets a lot of rain, right? So especially during the rainy season, you have different seasons there, basically wet and dry season, and so yeah, during the rainy season, it's definitely rainy. It's pretty nice that Dubai has blue skies all the time. It's fantastic in that regard, whereas it's quite often overcast in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so that's a little bit of a contrast for you, depending on your preference. Some people might like one or the other. Air quality, although you might not know it, actually is quite bad in Dubai. That's one of the drawbacks of Dubai, and so certainly in that regard, Kuala Lumpur is better. Okay, so those are two. Well, let's talk about the next thing, which is nature. So in this sense, Kuala Lumpur is lush and green and awesome in that regard, right? Dubai doesn't have a lot of green. It's the desert, right? So if you want to go out into the desert and you love the desert, beautiful, going and seeing those dunes like you would have from Arabian Nights or something incredible. We like that. Certainly you have the sea there. You can go. You're not on any ocean or sea in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so you're fairly close. It's not a long trip to get there, and that's one of the cool things of being in Malaysia for sure. Is that there's some great resorts. You can also go into the jungle. That's also cool, etc. There are some moderate mountains around Dubai, so you can go and there's I think it's the world's longest or fastest or something zip line there, so you can go and check that out. So there are some things. There's also some kayaking that's pretty cool in UAE, and you can go and check that out as well. So it gives you a little bit of nature, but I would say clearly Kuala Lumpur has better nature in that regard. By the way, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think? Which of these places do you prefer? What do you prefer about one versus the other? Now let's go to traffic. Okay, traffic is just much worse in Kuala Lumpur than in Dubai. Dubai actually, all things considered, handles traffic really well. During rush hour in KL, it's not good. You don't want to be in that traffic. During off hours, it's perfectly fine. I remember the first time that I ever went there, somebody had told me, "Oh, the traffic is terrible," and we arrived maybe around 11 p.m. at night or something, and it was drove downtown and everything was good, and I was like, what are people talking about, Then about a while later, you experiencing it, and it's not so good. So that's something to be aware of. All right. What else have we got? So we can take a look and we can say, all right, so traffic is that. What about kind of like lifestyle, etc.? These are both really convenient cities. Okay, so home delivery of groceries and food, and like Dubai is, I would say, a more 24-hour city than KL is, and certainly is more of an entertainment city. So I would argue that for entertainment culture, Kuala Lumpur is not that great. Okay. That being said, they both have pretty strong Islamic influence. Malaysia is like, I think 69% or something Islamic. Dubai obviously, comes from a country with Sharia law, etc. And so that reflects on the places that you can go and get alcohol. Certainly there's more places in my experience in KL than in Dubai. Both of them, alcohol is very expensive. So, if a person prefers that. I'm not particularly impressed with the nightclub scene in KL, if that's something that you're into. Dubai is going to be somewhat better in that regard. If a person is into drugs, neither of these places is for drugs. That's a no-go zone. I would say getting around Dubai is much more convenient than getting around KL, although it depends a little bit on where you're going. If you are in, for example, the KLCC downtown area, Pavilion, etc., and you're just going around there, great. Like, it's pretty walkable, it's pretty easy, etc. So there's that. In addition to that, there's public transit in both of them that is pretty reasonable. Now, costs-wise, there's a big difference. Okay, I've often said, to me, Kuala Lumpur is the best value per quality of life anywhere in the world. Okay, what you can get in terms of the quality of apartments, in terms of the service, in terms of the cost of food, in terms of the cost of transport, is great. Okay, super cheap taxis. So that's or you would use Grab there. So that's like the Asian version of Uber. Okay, great. You could get a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, maybe like, I don't know, 1,500 square foot apartment in a 5-star hotel for around 1,200, maybe a little bit more US dollars, kind of last time I checked. Okay, that's how, with we're talking about city center, KLCC, view of the Petronas Towers, that's pretty crazy. Okay, amazing deals in KL. Dubai, not so much. To have a 2-bedroom, kind of an equivalent thing, right? 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom in a 5-star property in, let's say you're sitting there looking out at Burj Khalifa, etc. You're probably talking $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So I would say it kind of 3 to 4 times more expensive for kind of equivalent real estate. There is, I would say, there's an abundance of great properties in both of them. So there's lots of that you can do. To give you some ideas of how cheap things are in KL, I would buy these big jugs of water for, I think, 25 cents. I have an experience for the first time that I was there with my wife and I. We were traveling for 3 months, and so we had suitcases full of clothes, and we needed to get some laundry done. We were staying at a hotel, and this particular, using hotel laundry services is super overpriced. So I go online, I say, hey, is there some place that can come and pick up our laundry? And I find one that's on WhatsApp. I message them. I say, hey, I would like to get some laundry done. They said, okay, well, it's a little bit late if you go through the website, but if you send me your details here, I can be there in an hour. Perfect. They come, they pick up these 2 giant suitcases of clothes. They take them away, they wash them, they fold them, they press them, they dry them. They deliver it back to the hotel the next day for less than $4 US. This is ridiculous, just ridiculous value. Now, if you're interested in, having cleaners in your place or hiring people, etc., there is, inexpensive staff available for sure in Dubai, less so than in KL. But that being said, that's certainly available in both cases. Food, way more expensive in Dubai, way more expensive. The food, I think the food scene in both is great. Okay, there's tons of really nice restaurants that you can go to in both places. I would say Dubai probably wins in that regard. I mean, there's just everything there. It's amazing, and they've got this fabulous decor, etc. It's great. On the other hand, the prices are not even remotely comparable. KL is much, much, much cheaper. You can go and you can get things just very, very affordably. In Dubai, almost nothing is affordable. Okay, maybe you can go to like Dera and eat street food or some of these places, and you can get some things that are reasonable prices. But in general, food, including groceries, are very expensive, whereas in KL, they're very affordable. So you've got that. What about kind of like tax treatment, right? We're talking a lot about that here. So for sure, Dubai just dominates in this because it's just zero tax, right? It's just so simple. You're like, okay, great. I can go there and I can have zero tax. Zero personal, zero corporate, great. VAT, 5%, okay, not too bad. Shopping, by the way, is generally more expensive in Dubai, although it depends a little bit on what you're getting. I find electronics are pretty well priced in Dubai. Whereas if you're getting clothing, etc., my wife would comment that if you go to Zara or an H&M or something, it's going to cost you twice as much as it does in Europe. So that's something to be aware of, right? Quite expensive. In KL, we found usually local brands in any place tend to be cheaper, and foreign brands tend to be more expensive, right? That's just versus being in that actual foreign place. So in other words, Zara is the cheapest in Spain, Guess is probably the cheapest in the US, right? That's just kind of where they come from. This being said, the prices are reasonable in, say if you're shopping for clothing or shopping for electronics or whatever in Malaysia, it's quite decent. In terms of safety, Dubai is much safer. Okay, there's not to say that Malaysia is a very dangerous place. It's not. It's certainly reasonable, kind of like what I would call normal crime levels. Okay, Dubai, on the other hand, is one of the safest places on earth in terms of cleanliness. Although the KLCC area and like certain areas of Kuala Lumpur are quite clean, a lot of it is much more chaotic, and so whereas Dubai is mostly extremely clean. So that's again an advantage on that side. Going back to the taxes side for Malaysia, so depending on how you're doing it, the Malaysian tax system is a little bit tricky. If you have capital gains or foreign dividends, then that tends to be pretty good. You can get zero tax on those things. Often we were setting up a Labuan company and operating at 3% tax there, plus paying full taxes on your salary, which would be relatively minor. And that was one workable structure. They've kind of screwed up the Labuan tax regime lately, so it doesn't work quite as well. So as I said, certainly much better on the UAE side. However, Malaysia's pretty good, okay? In terms of ease of immigration, way easier to do it in Dubai. Like it's just very, very easy to go and get a residency permit and stay long-term in Dubai versus in Malaysia. Even when they had MM2H, like it was a pretty long process, pretty expensive, etc. So definitely much more challenging on the KL side versus the Dubai side. So yeah, those are these two places. I would love to hear what you guys think. This kind of gives, I like them both. I'm very conflicted. I think that for somebody who is a global-minded entrepreneur, digital nomad, etc., these are both great places. Usually what I would say is, hey, if you're making a lot of money, then maybe you would favor Dubai. And if you're more concerned about cost, then maybe you would favor KL. That being said, like you could make lots of money and love KL, and you'd love Dubai regardless. So it's a little bit of trade-off. The other thing is just in terms of connections from airports. I mean, Kuala Lumpur is a well-connected airport, but almost like very, very few places are as well connected as Dubai. You have basically 3 major airports right close by, 3 airlines based out of them. So it's like a major hub for global travel. It's a very, very good place to go from that standpoint. So anyway, I hope that helps. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I would love to hear from you about, hey, listen, what is the places that you like? Which are the ones that you would most prefer and why? And I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.